May 14th, 2025. Headed over to Macy's. The mall was crowded, and everyone looked so beautiful, surgically perfected and wearing name brand clothing. It's all plastic, plastic boobs and plastic butts, plastic nose and plastic faces. Polyester is plastic too, plastic clothes as well. The mall was so beautiful, but the people there were just so annoying to look at. That's why I think architecture is the best art there is. It's free and costs nothing to look at. You can explore a building and truly immerse yourself in exploration. Even paintings have to be hung up in a museum. So, I wish this place wasn't a mall, because it's too beautiful to be tainted like this. I wish someone had gutted out all the stores so the perfect people wouldn't have to come. And I look at these perfect people and I get into this terrible mood. This place looks like a cathedral, Gucci and Louis Vuitton are the new gods. It all looks so much fun, but so terribly shallow. And it gets me thinking, you grow up, get a job, and hope that one day you'll be able to buy something nice. We're all in such a hurry to buy something nice. What's it all for? What's it all about? Well, I don't know. BID 7510318, two-story entertainment center, modern design, minimalist interior, glass skylight faces south to north to ensure the light doesn't shift from one side to another as the day passes, combined with incandescent light to match the sunlight. White lights diffuse illumination to provide a soft glow. Granite walls also provide for better acoustics, reflecting off background music in a way that generates echo and lessens the harshness of high pitch. Ceiling consists of simple geometric elbows providing structural support as well as a sense of unity, repetition, and composition.
Oh my god, I'm so tired. I ate so much rice. You probably hear the drying machine in the background, the fourth wall break or whatever. I don't know, people like that meta comedy or whatever the fuck. Rick and Morty. What was this scene again? Emotional processing. What am I processing again? Some other bullshit. Gotta learn to pick your fucking fights, brain. Gotta learn to pick and choose. And dang, arguing about them all. Is that really the premise of this video? Ah!
Excuse me, sir, but you can't just yell like that. This is also a place of business for many people working online.
I keep wondering about what it's all about. I think about the mall sometimes, about how wrong they got it. Who says they're wrong? It's all fueled by greed, it's wrong. But isn't that just a value judgment? Who do they hurt by wanting to be titans of industry and then consumers of Gucci bags? But isn't that at a cost? A great big negative externality? Doesn't that already come with negative consequences, like importing a bag from Italy pollutes the water? Running a huge corporation just makes the rich man richer because nobody invests in the stock market anymore. Stuff like that. But doesn't something like asceticism, the polar opposite, also have negative externalities? Isn't it inherently selfish to cut yourself off from the world, to avoid your friends and family? And if you opt to live in a monastery, all you're really doing is just dodging property tax and living off of everyone else's buck. And what's worse is that it produces nothing the larger society around it can utilize. No matter what, everything comes at a cost. The amount of harm we assign that cost just seems arbitrary. No. You're thinking of cost, but that's conceptually different from a negative externality. A negative externality would be something more accidental, kind of like how eating fresh avocados causes pollution when you have to transport it a large distance. Nobody really thinks about pollution when they see an avocado. Regardless, it still takes its toll on the planet. Being an assassin versus being an ascetic are two conceptually different things. One actively creates cost while the other accidentally creates cost. So then what's the concept that drives people to do stuff like asceticism or shopping at malls? Or I guess, what's happiness? What's the best way to live that actually aligns with the actual concept of happiness? But what even is the feeling of happiness? What do you mean? It comes in so many different flavors. There's joy, there's sad happy, there's glad, etc., etc. But aren't those all just synonyms of each other? They all just describe the same thing, just in varied amounts. Like joy is something akin to pure happiness, while sad happy is a mixture of sad and happy. Likewise, gladness would be like a mixture of happy and nostalgia. So then, what exactly constitutes a feeling of glad as opposed to sad happy? How many units of sad do I need to add before a happy becomes sad happy? Likewise, how many units of nostalgia are needed for a happy emotion to become glad? Do I even need the units though? Isn't it just enough to recognize that they're there? But that's the thing, you can recognize these emotions, they are shown to you, but you cannot quantify them. Okay, so let's say I create an experiment, like let's say I have a perfect map of a human brain and I can measure exactly how many receptors are triggered when a person feels joy, sad, happy, glad, etc. Those are my units, the number of happy receptors that are triggered during each emotion. That's my unit. But what if there's a person who has a different number of receptors, experiences these emotions differently? What if their feeling of glad actually registers as joy? Then we'll just label that person as an outlier. So what, his experience of the types of happiness is just invalidated just because his experience is slightly different from everyone else's? But there's also outliers in statistics and also margin for error. But don't you see, before we started this experiment, you were already able to recognize and label your emotions. Your naming of your emotions was valid to begin with. So if we try to invalidate an emotion someone clearly feels, then my experiment is a failure, because now I'm trying to invalidate something which is valid. A margin of error and outlier already tells us that the stats is just a close enough approximation of a thing, but it's not the actual measurement of a thing. But then, if my measurements are close enough, doesn't that count for anything? But why would you settle for close enough when you can already perfectly label your emotions just by applying some common sense? But they're not perfectly labeled. Sometimes I feel emotions I can't really name. Then isn't it possible that, like the colors of the rainbow mixing together to form the color brown, sometimes we just have a perfect mixture of emotions that makes it so that the individual emotions become something more complex and indistinguishable from their component parts. Thus, a new color, a new emotion entirely, something that I cannot express but can still label. Whenever I feel a complex feeling that is indistinguishable from all other feelings, I could just call it brown. But just because I gave something a label doesn't mean that the label tells us the exact measurements of the emotions that went into creating it. It just tells us that an emotion is quote-unquote brown. And from that name, we can gain a certain sense of what that emotion might be, but we don't know its component parts nor its exact subject. No matter what, when you try to assign costs to something, you have to do so using value judgments. You have to deem the value of a thing of a cost, but that's a seemingly impossible task, because just what even constitutes a single unit of value? How much subjective pain must I impose on someone before I have caused 1 unit of pain? Or how much money must I give a person in order to generate 1 unit of happiness? When we assign ourselves a purpose, such as to be rich or an influencer or a star or a parent or a lawyer or a business owner or a politician, we do so off of the basis of happiness, the pursuit of happiness. And we like to think that we know what is conducive to happiness, but the more you think about happiness, the more you realize just how complicated it is to try and recreate it, theoretically or practically. I mean, the discussion we've already had is so lengthy and complicated, and we have yet to scratch the surface of what it even means to be happy.
Shut up! There's so many cars.
But as soon as he recognized he was just trying to get away from her, he stopped walking. Why? Because it's like when you're trying to walk away from a situation subtly, like from an awkward conversation or from an awkward silence, you sort of feel bad that you're doing it because you feel like you're the one running away, like you're not making an effort to even try to fix the awkwardness, or at least recognize it. It just feels sort of cowardly. So, but as soon as he recognized he was just trying to get away from her, he stopped walking. Stuck with mild analysis paralysis, Ludwig just sat there on the stairs. Yeah. I need to fix this fucking sentence. But as soon as he recognized he was just trying to get away from her, he recognized he was just run away. No, it was walk away, because he's walking. Walk away. He felt a bit cowardly. Stuck with mild analysis paralysis. He, again, fucking pronouns, what do I say? Just sat there on the stairs and leaned his back. Against or on? No, it would have to be on, because if it's against, that implies it's like a push force going on. This is more like a rest. Like against implies action or like energy. On just implies like rest. His back on one of the steps while the other step acted as an improvised pillow. No, that doesn't. Okay, so you can, if it's a long enough and shallow enough steps, fucking, well, plural, then it has to, you have to lean your head against you can lay your back on one of them. That's possible if you're tall enough, if your torso's long enough. Your head, though, that would just be way too high of an angle to use a second step as a pillow. But you could lean it against the flat part of the step, not the flat, like horizontal, like vertical, that's the fucking word. Leaned his back on one of the steps while using the vertical adjoined. That's too many adjectives. 2 adjectives is too many adjectives. Vertical adjoined step, wall of the next step to lean his head against. Jesus, why is writing so fucking hard?
Thanks for watching my family-friendly YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Please.